Scholar from BPS Women's University, Haryana. Welcome, ma'am. On behalf of the ELTAI, Nikhil Thakur, Assistant Professor, Dr. K. Ramesh Babu, Assistant Professor and Head, Arignath Anna Government College, Avinash College of Commerce, Gautam Mane, Professor Ashwini, Dr. Juhi, Assistant Professor from St. Xavier's College, Ranchi, Dr. Pradeep Kumar, John Henny Eisen, Masteral Scholar and High School Teacher in the Philippines. Welcome, sir, on behalf of ELTAI. Dr. Shridhar Gokhale is speaking, but his mic seems to be unmuted. We are not able to listen to you, sir. Dr. Ketan, Assistant Professor from Gujarat. Welcome, sir. On behalf of the ELTAI, I welcome you all. Akshay Murli. As you know, that English Language Teachers Association of India, through its various chapters spread all over India, organizes such webinars frequently through which teaching of English language as well as literature is focused, it has been discussed by the scholars on this platform. Dr. Dinbandhu Nandi. It will be better if you mention your affiliation, your college, your university, as well as the state from which you belong. This being an international webinar, participants from across the globe are joining, and it's a pride event for ELTAI India. Dr. Amrita, Department of English, BPS Women's University, Sheikh Abbas, Avinash College of Commerce, Sikandarabad. Welcome, sir.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
You are audible.
Thank you. Thank you.
All the participants are requested, those who have joined and those who are trying to get joined, please mention your affiliation in the chat box. Today, we are going to have a wonderful session from Afroza Akhter Tina from Bangladesh. And she is going to enlighten us on a very interesting topic. Christian from Philippines again, a university from Philippines. Welcome, sir. Dr. Ravi, Head Department of English. Dr. Vinod K. Chopra is also willing to join. I welcome all the participants who have joined this wonderful session organized by ELTAI India. I request all the participants. ELTAI is a platform across India for the teachers of English. RB Zenele from Philippines, currently in Thailand. Welcome on behalf of ELTAI India. Please encourage your students, your research students, as well as your colleagues to be a part of ELTAI India by getting the membership and participating the activities that ELTAI organizes frequently. They are online as well as on offline platform. Ajit Singh, Assistant Professor, Department Applied Sciences and Humanities. Welcome, sir.
Dixit sir will be starting in 2 minutes.
Yes, we are ready. Both the resource person today, Afroza Akhter Tina, Webster University in Tashkent, Bangladesh, as well as moderator, Honorable Professor Dr. Shridhar Gokhale, as well as participants from different states of India as well as across the globe have participated this event, and we are going to start just a few minutes, within 2 minutes only.
Sir, can you go ahead with the general instructions?
Yes. Teachers who have been working in different parts of India, rural as well as urban, get the opportunity to have dialogue with the teachers who are doing something experimental and innovative at their level. This particular platform gives us exposure as well as information to others, which definitely helps teachers like me. In fact, I myself have been a beneficiary of ELTAI for the last many years. And such academic activities organized by ELTAI, they prove to be instrumental in doing certain experiments which are something innovative, sometimes they are unconventional, unknown to the teachers who have been working at different parts, teaching language as well as teaching literature. The guidance.
Start, sir. Sanjay
Yes.
sir, you can start.
Yes. So, good afternoon, all of us, the dignitaries, the resource person, Afroza Akhter Tina from Bangladesh, Webster University in Tashkent. She is a teacher trainer at Tashkent Regional Pedagogical Skills Center, Bangladesh. On behalf of ELTAI, I welcome you, madam. At the same time, we have a very senior academician, Professor Dr. Shridhar Gokhale from the University of Pune, a very renowned teacher in Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Karnataka, who is a very senior teacher. I welcome you, Honorable Sri Gokhale, sir.
Thank you.
I also welcome the Honorable Office Bearers of ELTAI, English Language Teachers Association of India, the members of ELTAI, and all the participants who are present on this virtual platform. I'm delighted to have you all join us for ELTAI seminar. It is 132nd webinar organized by ELTAI. It has been brought to you by English Language Teachers Association of India. And I am Professor Dr. Sanjay Dixit, presently working as an in-charge principal at SBR College, Mhaswad, Maharashtra, India. I have been a member of ELTAI for the last couple of years, and I have been associated with ELTAI presently through Satara chapter. The topic for today's webinar is the use of alternative assessments in everyday classroom practices. It is one that resonates deeply with educators and language learners alike. We will explore how poetry can help us to navigate discomfort and uncertainty which we always find in our classrooms, making it a powerful tool for both teaching as well as for our personal growth also, because every classroom, every situation is a different one, and teacher needs some kind of training, some kind of guidance for making his teaching enlightened, interesting, and as well as which will be beneficial to the students. Before we dive into today's engaging topic, let us take a moment to get acquainted with the vibrant world of ELTAI, as I have been mentioning it time and again. For those of you who are new to our community or simply a person like me who needs some kind of refreshment or a refresher, we have a brief video to showcase some of the incredible activities and initiatives that ELTAI is involved in for the last couple of years. The video of ELTAI, please.
Sati,
Thank you. Thank you for this wonderful video that tried to encapsulate all the activities that are related to make our teaching more effective, as well as activities that are meant to make our publication possible, quality publication, as well as the opportunities to teachers of English language and literature across India. I must thank ELTAI for making this platform available to all of us. Friends, it is ELTAI's commitment to empower English language educators across India. It is truly commendable, and it has been proving useful to all of us for the last many years. Thank you. Now, before we begin to the next step of this webinar, here are a few important points to ensure that the whole webinar runs very smoothly. I would like to request you, please post your questions in the chat box during the webinar. We encourage you to stay with us for the whole session. Please don't leave the session. Certificates will be issued within 10 working days. Please avoid sending follow-up emails immediately after the webinar to prevent delays. You have to fill a feedback form. It will be shared at the end of this webinar. Please fill it out to receive your certificate. Certificates are available to schools, UG and PG students, ELTAI members, foreign nationals who are joining this particular event, as well as PhD scholars are encouraged to join ELTAI. Check your inbox and spam folders also. For the certificate, keep a copy of the confirmation email after submitting the feedback form for verification if there is any problem. It helps definitely. We invite non-members to join ELTAI for access to resources because we have a lot of resources with ELTAI, professional development, as well as a strong peer network all over India as well as outside India. So once again, I welcome you all on behalf of ELTAI. Friends, to oversee this discussion, as I mentioned earlier, we have a very senior and very respected professor as moderator with us. Let me take this opportunity to introduce you in brief out of the esteemed moderator for today's webinar, Professor Dr. Shridhar Gokhale. Dr. Gokhale completed his post-graduation from the Department of English, University of Pune, his MLit from University of Strathclyde, Glasgow, Scotland, and his PhD from Central Institute of English and Foreign Languages, CIFL, Hyderabad. In fact, he's a model teacher, a professor of English. Actually, he belongs to a senior generation to me. Yet he is well connected and well known all over Maharashtra for his academic dedication, for his erudition, and his professional integrity and professional ethics that he followed throughout his life. Whenever we remember Professor Gokhale, we remember other teachers like Professor Shastri, Professor Jagirdar from Shivaji University, Kolhapur, to which I actually belong. Professor Gokhale was a lecturer in English at Fergusson College, Pune for 16 years. Then he shifted as a reader and subsequently as a professor to the Department of English, and he was the head Department of English, University of Pune for 23 years. He had a very long tenure where he has left his that particular identity as a teacher, and everyone knows him to be a model teacher. Currently, he has been teaching a course in English for scientists at the Institution of Bioinformatics and Biotechnology at Savitribai Phule Pune University. His area of specialization are linguistics and phonetics, English language and literature teaching, stylistics, grammar, and teacher training. Many teachers from Maharashtra remember him to be a resource person in their refresher courses. We have met him many times. Professor Gokhale has been awarded by British Council scholarship under the Technical Cooperation Training Program to study at the University of University at Scotland, and he has been received Principal V. Kezo Best Teacher Award from University of Pune also. Apart from a very dedicated and experienced teacher, Professor Gokhale has written 10 books. There are 10 books to his credit and 20 research articles. Notable books among are Enriching Your Competence in English, Writing Skills in English, Enriching Your Competence in Conversational English, Unlock Their Future. And these books are very prestigious and they are very useful to the students and newly appointed teachers at colleges. He has produced CDs, and videos on grammar for ACEL Pune also. Professor Gokhale has produced and participated as scriptwriter and presented in 14 educational films for the Educational Media Research Center, University of Pune, as well as a dictionary of English is to be published very soon by Orient Blackstone Publication, England. He, as a teacher, as a scholar, as a researcher, he has visited many countries abroad, made presentations on Pune ELT projects at St. Mary's College, London, and the University of Reading. He has taught for 3 months at Technical University, Germany, under the Academic Exchange Program. Professor Gokhale has conducted a workshop in phonetics at the National Institute of Education, Colombo, Sri Lanka, for teachers of English, Tamil, and Sinhalese there. He has delivered lecture to teacher trainees at the University of Mauritius, as well as all over India. He is known to be a very model teacher. In fact, it is an honor to have Professor Gokhale among us today in this webinar. I extend warm welcome to him, and I request Professor Dr. Shridhar Gokhale, let me hand over the session for moderation to you, sir. Honorable Professor Gokhale.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dixit, for your very kind words of introduction. I'm very happy to welcome the chief speaker of the day, Professor Afroza Akhter Tina, and all of you to this wonderful webinar. The topic has already been announced: use of alternative assessments in everyday classroom practices. I'm very happy to say that this is not going to be a lecture, but it's going to be a demonstration of what Tina has been practicing in her own classrooms. I'm sure the emphasis will be on formative assessment, the kind of assessment that goes on in the live classroom every day. I'm sure this demonstration will show us new insights into a very important area of language teaching and language learning, that is assessment. I'm sure this will lessen teachers' burden to some extent, and it will also make students independent learners of English. Let me briefly introduce the illustrious speaker, Professor Afroza Akhter Tina. She has been an adjunct professor at Webster University in Tashkent, and she has 13 valuable years of experience. She is an accomplished educator, and she has been recognized for her contributions to enhancing student engagement and fostering academic success. She did MA in English and then diploma in TESOL. As a US Department of State Exchange alumni, she has enriched teaching experience through positions in Turkey and Russia as an exchange faculty member. She has presented more than 100 papers at various international conferences, and her main research interests are assessment, content and language integrated learning, critical thinking, and teacher education. I'd just like to add that critical thinking is very, very important for all students, and she has been doing her best to encourage that. And the value of teacher education cannot be overstated, because if teachers are able to improve themselves, students automatically benefit. Afroza has been a mentor at TESOL, and she has also been a certified advanced practitioner of TESOL. I'm very happy to welcome you, madam, to this webinar. And may I now request to kindly begin with your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. First of all, I'd like to express my gratitude towards ELTAI for sharing this wonderful platform with me, actually with all of us, so that I could share a little bit of experiences, practical experiences of mine with you today. And I'm very happy to see that ELTAI is associated with BELTA Bangladesh, NELTA Nepal, GENTEFL, IATFL UK, and TESOL International. I guess we all know all these very big organizations, especially IATFL and TESOL International. So actually, I'm very happy to be a part of this webinar today. And before starting, if you could share that whether you can see the transitions. So do you see the transitions? Can you see the transition?
No, we cannot see your screen.
Okay. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes,
And the transitions also?
yes.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. As you know that I'm from Bangladesh, I'm Afroza Akhter Tina, but I work at Webster University in Tashkent. I joined this university last year, so I am not new actually, but I have just completed 1 year at Webster. Before that, I worked at a university where I worked for 9 years in Bangladesh. And apart from teaching in Bangladesh, I also taught in Turkey and Russia. And as you can see, now I'm teaching in Uzbekistan. And I'm also a teacher trainer, and I have been training teachers for Tashkent Regional Pedagogical Skills Center and USTI. These are voluntary English Language Teachers Association like ELTAI, like BELTA Bangladesh, like IATFL and TESOL. And apart from these two, I have also been actually training teachers for lots of other teacher organizations around the world. Why? Because I love this. And as you know, that today's topic is empowering learners through innovative assessment. So our today's focus will be on assessment, but not the usual kind of assessments that we regularly do in our classrooms, a little different from those traditional assessments. And in relation to this, I would also try to connect CLIL practices with different types of these alternative techniques. I believe that we all know about CLIL, but still, if someone doesn't know what is CLIL, it is actually content and language integrated learning. So here, the focus is on both subject content and language skills. So this is why CLIL is very important. When I planned, actually, when I started working on alternative assessment ideas, I found that this won't work that way if I don't include the content and if it doesn't have the focus on, improving or enhancing learners' language skills. So in that way, I try to connect the ideas and concepts. Now, why alternative assessment in CLIL? But before that, I don't know whether we know about alternative assessment ideas. Well, alternative assessment are those assessments which are not the traditional kind of assessment. Because from the term you actually, I guess you can understand that the term is alternative. So obviously these are not the kind of traditional assessments which we usually regularly do in our classrooms. So these alternative assessments focus on students' performance on tasks that require extended time, complex thinking, and integration of subject matter learning. So actually, these alternative assessment ideas are designed to assess a student's deeper understanding and skills, obviously, of the content. So we don't actually have to think that if I use alternative assessment ideas or techniques in my classroom, these actually will take me far away from the usual kind of assessments. These will take me far away from the syllabus. Of course not. Because while conducting a lesson, we usually follow a lesson plan. So if we can incorporate these alternative assessment ideas in the lesson plan, I believe we will get the actual scenario after, completing a lesson, whether the students understood the lesson or not, whether they were on the right track or not, what problems actually did the student face in terms of completing a task, what are the challenges the students, would like to mention even after completing a task successfully. So there are a lot of things which we actually try to we can demonstrate through different types of alternative ideas. Now, why alternative assessment in CLIL? Because as I have said, that these are beyond traditional tests. And CLIL aims for both content and language development. So traditional tests sometimes fail to capture the full picture. As an English teacher, or as English teachers, I believe ELTAI is an association of English language teachers. So obviously most of us are English language teachers here today who are present in this webinar. So as an English teacher, I believe we all would agree that sometimes we are not satisfied with the traditional test. We sometimes feel that we couldn't actually get the actual scenario of, the student's understanding. So here actually alternative assessments might work. And these are more authentic, as you can see, the second point. So projects, presentation, portfolios, debates, these are different types of alternative assessment ideas, which I believe we are familiar with. But today, I'm not going to focus on the common alternative assessment ideas. I would mention three very interesting, I would say a little different alternative assessment ideas with all of you. And the last one will be a common one, like portfolio, which we usually which we usually try to include in our classroom, so that the students actually can do something, or the students can wrap up the entire course in, maybe sometimes in a particular folder for us and also for them. And in the third point, as you can see, it focuses on the process. So that's why alternative assessments are important, because we actually can measure the process. So we measure the students' understanding through certain processes. And that's why these alternative assessment ideas work best when we think of developing students' content and at the same time language skills. And also it increased student engagement. And then comes the word differentiation, because as teachers, we won't disagree that we have different types of students in the class. Fortunately, this time, the university where I'm working at this moment, Webster, they're actually, we don't have different types, different level of students. So I'm fortunate in, now, but I was not fortunate before Webster, because in my class, I used to have, mixed level of students, mixed level of backgrounds, mixed level of, cultural backgrounds, financial backgrounds. And I also had even, students from 8 different countries while teaching in Turkey. So I actually faced this a lot, and I had to work on the term differentiation a lot since the beginning, since my inception as an English teacher in Bangladesh. So when the term actually differentiation appears in front of us, then we think of using differentiated materials, we think of using differentiated instructions, but somehow we miss differentiated assessments. We actually gave this common question paper to all these students at the end of the course, at the end of the semester, and we expect that the students will, perform equally on the question paper, which is not possible. So I believe here alternative assessment ideas might give us some insights, so that we can think of, preparing questions in different sets, maybe. If we are working at university, I believe we have that freedom sometimes. So we can think actually, and at the same time, it improves language skills, and it's also important for better feedback. Now, where did I come up with the ideas? I actually did this as a demonstration or workshop in Uzbekistan last year. So I was asked this question: where did I get actually all these interesting ideas from? Actually, I completed a 5-week online teacher training course, which was not a usual course. So I'm not saying that if you Google, you will find this course available through different platforms. It was like that, actually. This course was, designed, and this course was developed for some specific English language teachers by the US Embassy, Dhaka, Bangladesh. And that's how, I got the opportunity to be a member, to get enrolled in this course. And the title of the course was Art of Everyday Classroom Assessment for English Language Learners. And that time in 2017, these online courses, these these courses were, titled as e-teacher courses, But later, the e-teacher term has been vanished, and this has been replaced by the term open, OPEN. I believe as English teachers, you know about open courses. The US embassies actually, in connection with the US Department of State, offers different types of open programs throughout the year. So later, actually, it was, replaced by the term open. So I did an open course actually. And also I completed another open course titled Assessment of English Language Learners, which was also administered by FHI 360, US Department of State, in 2017. So that's how I got the ideas. Now here, if we focus on the demonstration, the objectives are to show you, or to reveal interesting ideas about 4 alternative assessment tools. As I said, one tool, actually, I think 1 or 2 tools might be very common everywhere, but maybe you would see a little kind of different demonstration from me, from my personal experience. So that's why I included them. But I believe individual assessment cards and progressive I can statements are new to most of us. And in 2017 also, these 2 ideas, these 2 tools were totally new for me. I haven't heard about using assessment cards and, I can statements in the lessons. Believe me, I haven't heard this before 2017, but I got ideas in 2017, and that's how I tried to implement them in the classroom, because I was teaching only language courses during that time. And then the 2 other alternative assessment activities will be portfolios and using reflective diaries. So the first one is using individual assessment cards. And as I said, the idea was totally new for me before 2017. So what is this? So this actually are prepaid cards. I repeat, these assessment cards are prepaid cards, pre-prepared cards actually. So the teacher, before the lesson, prepares the cards. Now, how did the teacher prepare the cards? That's the question. The teacher prepares the cards on the basis of the level of the learners. The teacher prepares the cards on the basis of the needs of the learners. So before preparing the cards, the teachers should know actually the level and the needs of the learners. Of course, the teacher knows about the content. So these are the things which the teacher should know, before getting into the lesson with those assessment cards. And how do they work? Actually, these cards might work in group. Students are also very much interested. I felt that students were very much interested, to work on the cards individually also, not always in groups, but also individually. And these actually could be used as a different set of cards. So the teacher can prepare different set of cards, not only one set of cards, according to different level of students, different needs of learners. As I said, when the word differentiation is front of us, actually our responsibilities are bigger. So we have more things to do, than the usual classrooms. And then of course, it allows for immediate feedback. Now, the background. So the idea actually came from Clive Lovelock, and he was a Japanese teacher. And this particular person, Clive Lovelock, developed this process of assessment in 1996. And the purpose was to make students learn basic communication skills. So I have Clive Lovelock's article with me in a folder. I have all the articles that I have been through while completing these 2 open courses in 2017. So if you want me to share the articles with you, I would love to share the articles with you, maybe after the webinar or through ELTAI, I might share. So the thing was, Clive Lovelock was teaching basic communication skills course in 1996. And that's how he, tried to do something different with his students. Now, while mentioning assessment card, Clive Lovelock clearly focused on 4 guiding principles. And it started with obtaining, storing, retrieving, and using the language, because the focus was on using English language, throughout the lesson. Throughout the entire lesson, actually, the focus was on using English. So he just wanted to, see, he just wanted to try actually. He just wanted to observe how much the students can take. And then the active involvement in the learning process. So through this card, actually, the learners will be involved actively in the learning process. And then the point is consciousness raising. So whenever a student or a group of students will use the cards, they actually will have that kind of consciousness. Automatic consciousness will be there because they will be filling up something in the cards. And then finally focusing on social and communication strategies. So obviously, whenever we think of, filling up something or discussing with someone else, before even filling up a form, we know that communication happens. Now, Clive Lovelock's assessment card has two sides. So this is one side of Lovelock's card. So I actually clicked the photo from the article. This is directly from Clive Lovelock's article. So this is one side of the card. And as you can see here, he created a lot of columns and rows. And he created this on the basis, as I said, on the basis of the language need, on the basis of the learner's level. So here, as you can see, name, number, class attendance, month, day, record, absence, scores, and then he used to give them assignments. So he created a column for that, due date, late, and then he also had, the score column, and then comments actually. So immediately after submitting an assignment, the
Shashi. ऐकूच नाहीये काहीच.
I think she has got disconnected.
हा, तिकडूनच झालं डिस्कनेक्ट.
Hello, madam. We are unable to listen.
Yeah, everybody, please be patient. I think the guest speaker has lost the connection.
Rahul sir, is it possible to approach her personally?
So I'm trying to give her a call.
Yes, yes, yes. All participants are requested to fill the form after the completion of the event.
Participants, kindly note, don't share any forms that is not related to the webinar. Please don't share your research related or any other forms in this platform during the webinar. So the participants may take it wrongly. Feedback form will be shared at the end of the webinar. So please stay till the webinar ends.
The entire office bearers are trying to reach the speaker. Please wait. Due to some technical problem at her side, we are not able to see her presentation as well as the slides she was sharing with us. Let's wait a few minutes. Mr. Abdullah sir, the form that you filled was sent by some participant from this platform itself. It is not the form sent by ELTAI.
Okay, sir.
Yes,
Dr. Atul, kindly don't do this by sharing your personal related or your research related survey in this platform. We sorry to inform you that if this happens, we will remove you from this call. And we request all the participants to not to fill any form which is apart from ELTAI's feedback form.
As the speaker has some problem at her end, let's utilize this time to briefly summarize what she has said so far. The emphasis in her approach is obviously on learners or students, and her main concern is how to develop their skills. To use terms which are very well known, this kind of class would definitely be a learner-centered class and not so much a teacher-centered class. Focus is on both content and language, that is language skill. As we can imagine, I'm sure we have all understood that this is not traditional assessment. In most universities, the kind of assessment that takes place at the end of the year is very different from what she has been talking about. She has been talking about assessment which actually takes place within the classroom every day in every class. Of course, it is assumed that the teacher has some amount of freedom and that the university rules are not too strict. In the sense, the university doesn't dictate what kinds of things must happen in a classroom. As she said, this is beyond traditional tests, and the focus is on the process rather than on the result. Let me clarify this idea a little. Most of us and most of our students are concerned with marks, with performance in examinations. That is the result. But how we reach that result is very, very important. The process which takes place within the classroom. And I'm sure we have all gathered that this kind of assessment is an integral part of teaching. This improves students' engagement. And she was also trying to deal with the question of different levels of students in the same classroom. She mentioned that in her present class, most students have uniform levels, but that doesn't happen all the time. And she also, the first tool that she mentioned was using individual assessment cards. Of course, she hasn't finished talking about this, but these are pre-prepared cards. That is, these cards are prepared before the teacher goes to the class. And the teacher has ideas about the student's level of competence. It is assumed that the teacher knows students fairly well. This allows for immediate feedback on the part of students. And students are actively involved in writing comments, writing their remarks, and I hope also raising different kinds of questions. I think these are the ideas that she has been talking about. And if any one of you would like to react to any of these ideas, I think we have time for that. Rahul, is that okay?
Absolutely fine, sir.
Yeah. So we can have some kind of discussion on what she has talked about.
If the participants have any issue, any queries, even though the resource person is not present, Professor Gokhale is an expert in the same area for the last years.
I'm really not an expert in assessment, though it is an interesting area for me. But we can all express our views.
And the area or the issue that she was dealing with was very interesting and very innovative. Teachers who work in conventional colleges, we do not actually get the opportunity to use such practices in our classrooms, but that is also a very innovative idea that one should try in his classroom. Generally, we do emphasize the result itself, not the process.
Yeah. Any views from participants?
Rashid Kharath has raised his hand. Is it possible to unmute you?
Kindly post your queries in the chat box, sir.
Okay.
Rakshit, sir.
Okay. Participants are requested to post their queries in the chat box. They will be read out, and Professor Gokhale will try to answer the queries.
No, in fact, I won't be able to answer all the queries because I'm not sure what the speaker had in mind.
Yes, what
But,
she did.
but we can at least discuss.
Yes.
We can express our views.
Anand Singh has asked what is I can statement.
Are you still unable to contact her?
Yes, sir. Trying to get in touch with her.
Participants, kindly fill the certificate feedback and this feedback provided by ELTAI. We are trying to get back to the speaker. In meantime, kindly fill the feedback of this webinar.
We hope that we will be able to get connected with the speaker. She has prepared herself and taken efforts for this webinar.
Yeah, friends, we are unable to connect with Ms. Afroza. But then if you have any queries, any concerns, please feel free to write it in chat box. We will try to discuss. We may not have exact answer, but then we will definitely try to have our opinion regarding those issues.
Hello, sir. Gokhale, sir, are you?
Yes.
Participant has raised his issue that is it possible to apply this method in large classes that we have? Yes.
Of course, I'll give you my opinion because I don't know what the speaker would have said. I think it's possible to apply this method even in large classrooms. Of course, there are difficulties in dealing with large classrooms, as all of us are aware.
Yes.
If each student fills in a card in a large classroom, the teacher may be able to look at only a few of them. that would be the difference. If there are only 10 students in a class, perhaps the teacher can take care of all their views. If there are 100 students, the teacher can still look at, let's say, 5 of those cards or 10 of those cards and respond to them. So in a sense, the method can be used even in a large classroom. Though the teacher may not be aware of each student's views.
Yes, sir. Yes. There is one more query from Mr. Gokhale, and he said that I have been teaching at a college where students are not able to speak or write English properly. Which alternative tools can I use to encourage them?
Now this is not directly connected with the topic, but I would still try to answer this because this is a universal question. Many students don't have sufficient competence in order to be able to write or to speak in English. I think we have to accept this fact. We have to accept their limitations, and we should try to take them 1 or 2 steps ahead of wherever they are. For example, if my student cannot speak English at all, if after whatever I can do, if he's able to speak 1 sentence or 2 sentences, even broken sentences with grammatical mistakes, I would say that's an achievement. We have to look at progress in relative terms. And there are many reasons why students' English is not acceptable enough. So I would say we should still encourage them to use English, even if it is faulty English. We can take the first important thing is communication. Let them communicate, even through wrong English, and gradually we can take care of these errors. This is my view.
Yes, sir. Definitely. Any participant? Any new query that we wish to post?
I saw a question on the screen,
Yes, sir.
which I will not be able to answer, but someone else can answer.
Yes.
Maybe Rahul can answer. The question dealt with the use of artificial intelligence. How could artificial intelligence deal with these kinds of problems? Rahul or anyone else, if you could say something, that would be fine.
Professor Rahul belongs to the young generation, the new generation.
Yes.
Fraternity, who are well acquainted with the new tools, if possible.
Hey, good evening, everyone. This is a very pertinent question, I must say. And the new generation of teachers they're going to face a lot of challenges with artificial intelligence. But then at the same time, I believe that artificial intelligence will come to the rescue of teachers in assessing uh, the responses of the students. In fact, it has already started in some way. When we use Google Forms or any other tools, we already have a lot of inputs from AI which can assess the responses of the students. But as far as long answers are concerned, probably it will take some more time in helping us assess those responses. But very soon, I believe that the AI will take that leap and will have AI assisting us in assessing those answers. In fact, I must say that Cambridge has already initiated such process. They have the test called Lingua Skill, which can assess the students immediately, and you get the result on the same day. Because in other international certification exams, normally the speaking test, it takes time. The writing test, assessment of writing and speaking takes time. But then now Cambridge has developed something very unique, wherein you get the result of the speaking test, writing test immediately. So the processes are already on, but then we will definitely, as an individual teacher, we will still have some more time to get it at our disposal. But I can assure you that in years to come, artificial intelligence will definitely help individual teachers as well in assessing the responses very well. So
Definitely, definitely, sir.
that will not be a competitor, but then it will be definitely a big helping hand for all the
Yes.
teachers in future.
AI is going to do a lot in teaching, research, as well as assessment. And it definitely will have both negative and positive effects on teachers at large. Thank you, sir.
I think Ms. Sonika Singh wants to say something.
Yes,
Let's allow her to
yes.
contribute. Allow her to contribute what she wants to say. Okay, Ms. Sonika Singh, please unmute
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. It's my first time that I'm attending this LM, and I think it's very enriching, very interesting, and very empowering. I would like to add what Carlos had just said about how AI could be helping in assessments. So, sir, we are using AI in our assessments, especially when we have to check our MCQs. We also use ELSA and Speechify when we are teaching pronunciation, and for our vocabulary and for pronunciation, vocabulary, and grammar also, AI comes very handy because correction becomes easier. So yes, AI could be a very good tool. And sir, with your permission, I would also like to I can statements, because we've been using that. Somebody had asked what are I can statements. So with your permission, I would like to talk about I can statements. Basically, I can statements are used commonly for assessments in various subjects. So because we all are teachers of English, so I would like to say that, when you're reading, when you're testing reading, then you could say, I can identify the main idea and supporting details in a text. Or when you're doing writing, we say, I can write clear and coherent essays. So basically, these I can statements, the whole idea is to do assessments to articulate learning of the student's progress. So like, you have got these set clear learning rules. Like I can identify the main idea of a text, or I can explain how I can solve a quadratic equation. So basically, the whole idea is that child himself is able to express his ability, demonstrate his readiness to do something, and is able to, inspire action. So when I was teaching in Europe, that is the time, we would use these kind of assessments. So I just thought that because I've been using it, I thought I'll just talk about it. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Singh, for sharing your views and sharing dates with us. So,
Rahul, one of the worries I have,
Yes.
and maybe a lot of other teachers have, is to what extent do you think teachers will be replaced by artificial intelligence? That would be a worrisome situation, I think.
certainly, sir. I believe that AI is going to help the teachers in assessing, but then it will certainly replace those teachers who will not change themselves or who do not want to change themselves according to changing times. So we, as teachers, also need to understand how we can incorporate AI in our teaching and assessment both.
Yes.
Uh,
Very
I
much.
hope, I
Shridhar,
hope,
sorry.
I hope artificial intelligence will not become the teacher itself.
In a way,
Let's
it
hope.
already has become. It cannot replace us, but then it will definitely replace those who do not know how to use it.
Okay. I saw a question, and if there is nothing else to discuss, we can take it up. The question related to the importance of grammar. Uh, I was able to see the question only for a few seconds, and it seemed to ask whether grammar is more important or literature is more important. I think I think the question is not really well formed. Literature and grammar both have their own importance, but I could say something about the importance of grammar in language teaching. And I would say that grammar is not the most important thing in language teaching. What is much more important is communication. If we are able to communicate clearly and unambiguously, and if we still make a few mistakes of grammar, that is perfectly okay. So, many Indian teachers have been overemphasizing grammar. One reason may be it's easier to teach grammar. It's easier to teach rules of grammar. It's easier to test. But let me refer to the views of some other examining bodies. Rahul referred to Cambridge University. And, there I've had some association with them. And they seem to suggest that if a particular spelling creates a problem for the reader, then it's a serious mistake. But if, instead of ANT, if we write ENT at the end of a word, and it still conveys the same meaning, then it's not a serious grammar mistake. That is their view. And they think that students should not be severely punished for those minor. They distinguish between major errors and minor errors. Major errors are those which create a problem for communication. Minor errors, even if they look to be strange, they don't create a problem for communication. The reader can still understand. My view is that all of us should assimilate this distinction between a major error and a minor error. For example, uh, the misuse of an article, I would say in most cases, is a minor error. If we don't use an article, we still communicate meaning. For example, instead of saying, I need a pen, if I say, I need pen, meaning is still conveyed. But if there is an error in the use of the passive voice, or if there is an error of tense, these are more serious errors because they can affect communication. So a brief answer to that question would be uh, grammar is much less important than communication. I think the speaker has joined. I saw her face.
Yes,
Sorry,
yes,
I'm sorry. Actually,
yes,
we ran out
yes.
of the internet. I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
Once again, welcome, ma'am.
I actually couldn't see. I was presenting, so I don't know where did I end.
You were dealing with your first point using individual assessment cards.
Oh,
A-
mhm.
And you
So
had just begun with that.
okay. So I stopped in individual assessment card.
Yeah.
Yes, madam.
Okay. So what should I do? Should I start?
Yes, madam. Please.
I don't know. Should I start?
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Okay. I'll make it shorter.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
But you are not audible yet.
I'm trying to share my screen.
Yes, please.
Okay, so just let me know whether you can see. I'm so disappointed I couldn't check, and I actually shared everything. I ended up, and then I found. So can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I think
Yes.
I was here. So did I mention about the background of assessment card?
Yes.
Okay.
And your last point was this can be done individually or in groups.
So did I see actually show you this assessment card samples?
You are showing it.
Exactly. So this is the customized card that I actually gave my students because I was teaching basic communication skills course. So I developed this card with 18 classes and I gave them the keys and some English expressions to, encourage their discussion, because students sometimes may have that kind of impression that I don't know how to say, how to speak, how to communicate. So these are some expressions through which students might get help and to encourage them for the discussion. And if a student, uses the keys properly, then he or she will put a tick beside the keys in the columns. And if a student feels that he or she actually was unable to use the keys improperly, then he or she will put a cross beside each of the keys. So after the total, after completing 18 classes, students will make a total and he or she will see how many times actually could he uses English properly throughout the lesson, or whether he or she could participate actively in the discussion or not, because it depends on the keys. And that's why I said it works best with CLIL, because the teacher has the freedom to include the keys the way he or she wants. It doesn't matter whether I'm teaching a basic communication course or a writing course or a reading skills course. It doesn't matter. It depends on the teacher. How does the teacher wants to design the keys and the English expressions? It also depends on the level of the learners. So that's why I felt that it worked best. And this actually reduces assessment burden and it empowers learners to articulate their understanding. The next alternative assessment ideas, which was very interesting and totally new for me before 2017, was using progressive I can statements. And this actually works to promote learner confidence. And before this, I also didn't have ideas about I can statements. This particular strategy has been developed by Fife McDuff, Khadija Al-Haiki, and Caroline Lindsay. So these three teachers were teaching writing skills course during that time. And that's how they came up with the idea of including series of I can statements. And not only series of I can statements, but we can also share one I can statement even for one group of learners. So these I can statements actually are, kind of checklist for the learners. Like after completing a task, students will say, teacher, I can use present perfect tense in the context. Teacher, I can use first and second conditionals appropriately. So these I can statements are very student-friendly statements, and students actually love to use I can statements like this. And I would like to mention one sample activity. Like I gave my students reading comprehension on two cities, Dhaka and Sylhet. And I asked them this question: where would you rather live and why? And after reading the handout, they were supposed to write an argumentative essay, and they were supposed to assess their writing with the help of I can statements. So they will write an argumentative essay and they will assess their writing with I can statements. What does this mean? So this means that, like this. So I can give I can statements, one I can statement. I can also give them series of I can statements like this, as you can see, level 1, level 2, level 3, series of I can statements. And I can also give them statements in not in orderly form. I mean, I can give them scrambled I can statements, and students can, put them in order. Like this is a practical example from my own experience. The students were supposed to identify an argument to support a claim at their first level. They were also supposed to identify claims from a given text in the first level. So if your students feel that I can identify an argument, I can identify claims from a given text, so they pass level 1. So the series is completed, and then they will move on to level 2. And in level 2, if they can say, I can choose an argument to support a claim, I can choose claims from a given text, then their level 2 is complete. So they will move on to level 3. So this is how it depends on the teacher. It depends on the level of the learners. So it doesn't matter actually whether we are working with B1 learners or C1 level of learners. It doesn't matter. It depends on the teacher. It depends on the level. And the teacher actually can design the I can statements the way he or she wants. So the third one, which I wanted to mention, is reflective diaries. The reflection journals. I believe we all have ideas about reflection journals. So these are also personal journals for self-assessment. And this encourages critical thinking. Like at the beginning, sir also mentioned that today somehow we are actually depending on AI tools so much that we are not working on developing our critical thinking skills. So this reflection journals actually help on this. And this obviously is a personal record of a student's learning journey. So it encourages critical thinking about the CLIL experience as well. And here I would like to show you one template which I gave to my students. This template is an template. I repeat, my students, while teaching writing skills, I was also writing skills after completing this course. So I prepared a template for my students, and that template was an template because all our students had internet and laptops in the classroom. I'm not talking about those students who don't have access to internet and laptop. So these template can work for them. If we don't have access to internet and laptop, of course, we can give them papers as templates, where before leaving the class, students can focus on certain questions according to the teacher's need. So I wanted to know actually these 3 points. But one thing did you learn from the session? What are your strengths and what area do you need to improve on? So before leaving the class, students used to write all these, and believe me, these actually meaningfully engage them. They became a little more conscious, in terms of filling up this reflection template. So that's why I'm saying that this worked amazingly in my classroom. And this obviously is important for building up feedbacks and documentation. So if the documentation is not proper, of course, we cannot say that we are getting the proper kind of reflection. So we need to be careful in terms of the documentation, whether the students are documenting everything properly or not. And the final type of assessment tool which I wanted to mention is portfolio assessment. I believe we all know about portfolio assessment. This is a very common thing. But here I also once again introduced e-portfolios, not the physical portfolios. Once I remember, while teaching at a university as an adjunct faculty, my students prepared physical portfolios with lots of decoration and lots of other things, but for which they also invested a little amount of money. But I'm not saying that this should be done physically every time. So if the students don't have money, if they belong to a remote place, we can encourage them, to include whatever they are having in the lessons, and just, simply stapling them up might work as a teaching portfolio, physical teaching portfolio. But if the students have access to internet and a laptop, of course, e-portfolio can work great, because this facilitates continuous feedback. And I believe that through portfolio, students themselves can measure their own progress. So they also take the responsibility of their own learning. They know from where did they start and from where actually they will be ending up by the end of the course. So this works, I think, more on essays, research papers, report writing, creative writing. Actually, when we think of, teaching writing skills, I think doing a portfolio could be a very interesting idea. I mean, apart from including a reflection journal. So the purpose actually was to demonstrate ability to communicate ideas clearly. And I still remember my students not only shared their physical portfolios in front of the classroom, but also they presented orally their portfolios, their journeys, because that portfolio, it reflected their collection of work. So portfolios are collection of a student's work that definitely demonstrate their progress, learning progress. And they also reflect their skills, their achievements. Sometimes they are failures, of course, but sometimes they are achievements also. And students love to actually share or explore portfolios practically in the classroom. So there are a lot of drafts, first drafts, second drafts, and lots of drafts, revisions in the portfolios. And that's why it captures a broader range of skills and knowledge than traditional tests. And that is why I say every time that I love actually including CLIL and all the alternative assessment ideas together, because through this I can show, I can also see their progress. The students themselves can reflect on their own progress. They also encourage students to actively evaluate their own learning. They connect learning to real world tasks and applications. They provide opportunities to assess both content mastery and language development in authentic context. As I said, that whenever the word comes differentiation, we need to be a little more conscious as teachers, because now I don't, as I said, I don't have different level of learners in my classroom at Webster. But before this, I used to have different level of learners in my classroom. So whenever a teacher thinks that I have different level of learners in the classroom, then the teacher thinks of using differentiated instructions. The teacher thinks of using differentiated materials. But if we give them the same question for the assessment by the end of the term, that somehow actually won't be, a kind of justified thing for both of us, because we know that not all the students have the same level, but we are expecting that the students will perform equally on the same type of question papers. So we can prepare actually 2-3 different sets of question papers. I know that it is possible in most of the universities, because the university teachers have that freedom. And when we think of the role of a teacher, of course, the role of a teacher is, we know that teachers are multitaskers. It's not that we know how the students are, doing all these alternative assessment. They are measuring their own progresses. And as teachers, we can only relax and enjoy a cup of tea. It's not like that every time. We know that we cannot rest. We need to be very good observers. As you can see, controller, organizer, participant. We become participant with the students also. We are assessors, we are prompter, we are resource persons for the students, we are tutors at the same time. Now, at the end, I would like to end with a very favorite expression of mine. I won't say this is a quotation. Knowing what students know is important, because sometimes as teachers, we feel that we know more than students, but maybe it's not true most of the time, because I felt that students know how to use technology more than me. Students know how to use different types of AI tools more than me. So I learn actually from my students, using this or that technical things every time. Students might also know the content more sometimes than the teachers, but they also need some guidance and instructions, and that's why they are in the classroom. They need guidance and instructions from us, and that's why we are teachers. So thank you all for the kind patience, and I'm very, very sorry. I'm very sorry because I couldn't actually see that I was out of, the network. I actually completed the presentation. So after completing the presentation, I actually checked. So I completed the presentation. I had detail, I shared detail of regarding each kind of assessment. So that's why I'm very sorry I couldn't share the details with you. But maybe if you want the slides, I can share the slides through ELTAI, and they can share the slides with you. I don't know if you need. So these are my personal information: WhatsApp, email, LinkedIn, Skype, Facebook. So if you want to be connected with me, you're always welcome. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. And once again, I'm very sorry.
Thank you very much, Professor Tina, for your wonderful presentation. We are sorry that we missed a large part of that.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But I'm happy that you could repeat that in brief at the end, and that has given us a fair idea of what you had in mind. During that break, I summarized the earlier part, so I think I'll continue. And the second tool that Tina dealt with is using progressive I can statements. And, these are students assessing themselves, and students can list their abilities. For example, I can understand the argument of the essay, or I can use present perfect tense correctly, and so on. This gives students a responsible role. Of course, students cannot say that he knows a certain thing without knowing it.
Exactly.
There is this kind of problem. And I think there would be certain checks on that. Perhaps you didn't have time to deal with those. The third is preparing reflective diaries. Again, these are personal diaries of students. This is a personal record of what they have been able to do. As Tina rightly said, this is a record of the student's journey from where he was initially and where he was terminally at the end of the program. This creates a meaningful engagement in the minds of students, and the teacher gets valuable feedback from this. And this documentation is very, very important both for the student and the teacher. The last tool that the speaker dealt with was portfolio assessment. In simple terms, this seems to be a collection of all the work that student has done through a term or through a year. And she mentioned physical portfolios, which can measure their progress, achievements. And this is again very valuable both for the teacher and the learner. Briefly, these have been some of the main ideas that the speaker dealt with. If there are any questions, I think we can devote some time to questions and answers.
Yes, of course.
So participants are most welcome to send their questions.
I can see a question actually from Modi Meet.
Yeah.
So probably he's asking, it's difficult to find some questions. Any tips and resource for solving this issue for fresher teacher? For assessment, it's difficult to find questions. Oh, that's a different thing actually. I don't know whether you're talking about the formative or summative assessments or not. I mean, the traditional test. I don't think that it's difficult for you to find questions for the traditional examinations because we know, we have question banks, we have lots of other things. We know whatever we are teaching. It's easier, I think, to design questions for summative and formative assessments. But the formative assessments also sometimes, could be kind of, we can associate the formative assessments as portfolio or reflection journals sometimes. So as you mentioned, for fresher teacher, I would say if you are a fresher teacher, start implementing one of the alternative assessment idea you want in your classroom from now on. Why? Because you as a fresher would feel that you are developing, you will be developing so gracefully as teacher. You won't believe after 1 year, 2 years, you will feel that with those feedback, with those reflection from the students, you actually tend to design, redesign, modify, remodify your lessons so much. You need to adapt different types of interactive techniques, strategies so much throughout your, coursework that you yourself would feel that you have developed as a professional teacher. You have something to share with the other professional teachers. So it's very good as a fresher if you can start from now on. There are a lot of templates available everywhere. If you Google, you will find thousands of alternative assessment ideas. But I won't say that you can just select anyone. But whenever if you select any alternative assessment tool, please consider the level of the learner, consider the content, consider the background of the learner, because we cannot just simply select an alternative assessment tool and we cannot start working on that. It actually depends on a lot of things. So you need to work on that. You need to have a lot of preparation. Every assessment idea should be clarified at the beginning of the lesson to the students so that the students don't have any kind of confusion or questions. How am I going to use this? Why will I use this? How am I going to be benefited from this? Because students will have a lot of questions. So you should be ready actually with all those answers at the beginning of the lesson. Thank you.
Are there any more questions?
Yes, I can see another question from Ajit Singh. How can I prepare an assessment card for a class which is offline? My subject is English and soft. Yes, very good. This card, which I showed you, that's an offline card actually. I prepared one set of cards. And now, Ajit Singh, you might say that the teacher need to invest a lot of money for this. No, actually, once you prepare one set of cards, you are good to go. You are good to go. You don't need to prepare cards for every semester. You don't need to develop your card for every semester. If you know that I teach these 3 or 4 courses every year, you just need to prepare one set of card for each of the courses. So if you are ready with one set of cards, that's okay. You can use that card actually with all the students throughout the year. Even I use the same set of card with, I think, 3 batches. And then I just, modified the card a little. And for that also, I took help from my students. As teachers, we have a lot of pressure, as I always say. So I actually requested one of my students to help me in terms of preparing those cards. So she sat with me. She actually she designed the cards for me. And once we are ready, and I actually use those cards for, again, 3 batches or 3 semesters. So you can definitely prepare the cards physically, offline cards, physical cards. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Yes, Dr. Policity, can you say sample card for assessment? I wanted to, but the thing is, the university where I worked for 9 years, as I said, we used to use Moodle as the blended learning platform. So you will find actually all the students' responses in Moodle. But as I left the university, so I don't have access actually of that platform. So I cannot show you directly from Moodle because I don't have access. I left the university and I joined Webster. So now I don't have access to my Moodle account, which I use actually for collecting all these students' responses in that university.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, of course, sir.
Of course, your ideas are brilliant, but there is some practical problems in certain classrooms. How far reliable do you think is students' own assessment? For example, if a student writes, "I am learned the present perfect tense."
Mhm.
Now, how reliable is this? Obviously, he hasn't learned it.
Of course, that's a problem, sir. Definitely, we know that students actually write so many things which are not true. We know this.
Yeah.
But then that is why, sir, if a student says that I learned using present perfect tense, then if I give an exercise on present perfect tense, the next class, if the student gets 5 out of 20, it reflects that she or he actually hasn't learned anything.
Yeah.
So that's why what I did, sir, I actually then requested my students actually to put a cross beside that E, because you didn't learn, or you cannot say that I can use present perfect tense in my context. So I had to stand beside that student. I had to correct that. So she had to put a cross. She couldn't put a tick. And after putting crosses for 4, 5, 6 classes, the students sometimes feel demotivated, because sometimes they feel that the teacher actually finds easily that I haven't learned anything or I didn't do that. So that is the time when few of the students actually seriously tried actually start learning things. So I felt that amongst them, 50% students wanted actually to learn. They wanted to prove that, yes, I got a tick. I gave a tick because I seriously know how to use present perfect tense in my context. So 50% students started working. I got very good results. But for the rest of the 50%, it was, kind of average. They were highly demotivated. And whatever we tried to do, they couldn't engage themselves. But the thing was, as we had activities and student engagement score, so in that, students were very much scared sometimes, because they know that we don't have only summative assessment at the end. We have mark for attendance. The teacher is also going to give us mark for engagement, student engagement. So that's why the students tried, but I would say finally 10% or 15% failed in terms of whatever I wanted to achieve from the student. So that's true, sir.
Hmm. And do you think a certain level of linguistic competence is assumed in order to be able to participate in this?
No, no, sir. No, sir. It depends. It depends actually on the learner, because if the learner are from, I guess, elementary level, then I can prepare the card on the basis of their level. I mean, the English they understand. That's it. Before joining Webster, I worked for 1 year at at a school, at a public school in Tashkent, Uzbekistan, under the Ministry of Preschool and School Education. So while working in that school, I found that most of the elementary level students, they were highly demotivated in terms of sitting in the class. Forget about learning anything from the teacher. They didn't want to sit even in the class. So it was very tough for me to motivate them to just sit and then just sharing stories and discussing this or that. No lesson plans worked during those classes. We only discussed, we only talked about personal things. They had so many questions about me because I look like an Indian, so they had a lot of questions about India as well. So we had so many things. But sir, it depends actually. It doesn't matter whether the students are from B1 level or from C1 level.
I would just add that the real success of a teacher is to motivate these demotivated students.
Exactly, sir. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very
Thank-
tough. Thank you, sir.
very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Despite the disruption due to connectivity, it was really a very engaging and thought-provoking discussion that we have had today. On behalf of ELTAI, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to our distinguished guest speaker, Professor Afroza Akhter Tina from Bangladesh, for the time and the insight that she has given and the experiments she has actually done. It will definitely be helpful to many teachers who are attending this webinar today. I thank Professor Dr. Shridhar Gokhale for moderating the session and offering his expert remarks. He handled the session very nicely when the resource person was offline. She was not able to connect us. Thank you, sir, for your insights and the resourceful answer that you gave to the queries. Well, behind the scenes of this webinar, there is a dedicated team that works tirelessly to ensure the success of ELTAI webinars. I thank the seniors and mentors for their valuable and timely input. Special thanks to Kevin, the backbone of the organizing team, for his hard work and commitment to organize such webinars. I must thank my friend Professor Rahul Pai, ELTAI Pune chapter, for giving me this opportunity, to Satara chapter for hosting this webinar. And last but not the least, let me mention that there were near about 140 participants across the globe. Most of them were from different states of India. A few were from Bangladesh, Philippines, Oman, and other countries. We are definitely thankful to all these participants for participating this webinar organized by ELTAI. Your active participation, questions and insights make these webinars not just an informative activity, but also a platform for rich discussions which are actually useful to us in our day-to-day classroom teaching. Thank you once again, the resource person and the moderator, Professor Gokhale. All participants are requested once again, don't fail to forget the feedback form. You will get the certificate after that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before I wrap up, a few more announcements. Please mark your calendar that the next ELTAI webinar will be held on Sunday, 20th April 2025. We will have a captivating session planned for you on the topic of children's literature in translation the Amar Chitrakatha approach. Ms. Reena I. Puri, Executive Editor of Amar Chitrakatha, is going to deliver this wonderful talk. So be ready there. Can we have that particular poster of the next webinar, please? Yes, yes. Children's Literature in Translation, the Amar Chitrakatha approach on Sunday, 20th April 2025. Registration details and additional information about this exciting webinar are available in the chat box and also on our ELTAI's website. Remember, your active participation is not only encouraged but essential to the success of the events that are organized by ELTAI. Let's continue our journey of professional development together. Let us come together hand in hand to enhance our professional skills and capacities. Now it is a time for a group photograph. I request everyone